Hello. This is a continuation of my description of symbolic communication as a key element of human culture. This one dealing with writing, gestures and body movements, and the use of physical objects and colors. Linked to the spoken languages, but distinct from them, are the various systems of writing. Unlike speech, these are purely artificial methods of communication, and each has a relatively recent historical origin and development in terms of humanity's existence. Sociologically, the creation of writing enables us to distinguish between three kinds of society: pre-literate societies, which necessarily rely on oral communication; societies with a small literate elite and a mass of illiterate people; and modern societies characterized by mass literacy. Mass literacy is now the norm across much of the world, but in the relatively recent past, most people were illiterate, living in either pre-literate societies or those with only a small literate elite. It is estimated that worldwide, about 86% of those aged 15 and above are now literate, with literacy being more common amongst men than women. There are still a few countries with very low rates of literacy, but they are now the exception. Historically, the creation of writing systems in areas as diverse as Mesopotamia, Egypt, and China transformed human societies, enabling literate individuals to record details of events and transactions in a lasting format, and to communicate effectively across great geographical distances. As noted by Harold Innis in The Bias of Communication in 1951, this made it possible to organize large-scale societies, which contrasted with the small-scale, localized, pre-literate societies which they replaced or enveloped. Bureaucratic systems also emerged to coordinate these new empires, with a class of literate scribes forming part of the ruling elite, and differentiated from the mass of the population by their special cultural skills. Written records facilitated the emergence of literate traditions, including religions, which were carried forward across generations and contrasted with the free-flowing oral traditions of pre-literate societies. Other researchers, notably Walter Ong in his Orality and Literacy from 1982, argued that literacy favored the development of critical abstract thought, in contrast to the unreflective and situational thinking styles of pre-literate peoples. Another form of symbolic communication is provided by gestures and body movements. Gestures mostly comprise various sets of hand movements specific to particular cultures. In Britain and the United States, for example, a thumbs-up gesture may be used to indicate success, offer good luck, or ask for a ride, whilst in parts of the Middle East, a slight upward movement of the chin, accompanied by making a clicking sound with the tongue, like that, is an indication of skepticism about something that has been said. Although many of us take these gestures for granted, it must be emphasized that they are culturally specific and can have quite different meanings in different societies, as with the thumbs-up gesture, which has a sexual meaning in Iran, or used to, and is extremely insulting in Nigeria, allegedly leading to some Western hitchhikers getting beaten up after trying to hitch a ride. Subtle differences of gesture can also have different meanings, with the British two-finger gesture, V for victory, popularized by Winston Churchill in World War II, having the palm of the hand facing outwards towards the viewer, but a similar gesture with the palm facing inwards being used as an insult. Again, in Thailand, the greeting in which the two palms of the hands are placed together and raised towards the face, the Y, can be used to very precisely indicate the status difference between the people involved. The more the hands are raised and the head lowered, the more respect is being shown. The photograph, by the way, is from a McDonald's restaurant in Thailand, showing the use of a local cultural symbol by an international company. Note that some cultures use hand gestures far more than others, with southern Italians famous for gesticulating when they speak, but Swedes not. Gestures can also be made with the feet, as in some parts of Southeast Asia, where they can be pointed at someone in disrespect. Although taken for granted, hand gestures are deliberate actions. By contrast, body movements are largely unconscious. Some of these are certainly learned, as with certain facial expressions, indicating disapproval, which vary from culture to culture, or the Indian head shake, which means yes, or perhaps maybe. Again, some body movements that might be regarded as normal in Britain and the United States, such as eating with the left hand, patting someone on the head, or putting one's feet up on an object to rest the legs, would be regarded as rude and disrespectful in some other cultures. We should also include comfortable proximity here, that is, the distance between ourselves and an interlocutor which we find comfortable. Too close, and we feel that they are impinging on our space. Too far, and we find it hard to engage with them. This also varies between cultures, with Latin Americans and Middle Easterners often preferring to stand much closer to speak to someone than many North Americans are comfortable with, the resulting tendency being for the North American to unconsciously back away whilst his Arab or Mexican interlocutor advances. Physical objects can be extremely meaningful in many cultures. Thus, religious believers commonly revere certain symbolic sacred objects, such as the Christian cross, the image of the Buddha, the Eastern Orthodox icon, the Bible, and the Quran. Unsurprisingly, believers can be horrified by the profane use of these objects, as with the use of the cross as an item of jewelry, or taking a photograph of oneself with a Buddha image in a way that is regarded as disrespectful. Uniforms, badges, and perhaps particularly flags can also be objects of respect or reverence. Thus, the Americans have a detailed code of law regarding respect for their flag, how it should be displayed and carried, a prohibition against using it in advertising or on apparel, and so on. By contrast, many British people are quite offhand about the treatment of their flag, and the flag's image can be easily found on clothing and tourist knickknacks. Flags can also be used as displays of political allegiance, as with the old Confederate flag of the rebel states of the American South, seen by its supporters as an emblem of Southern pride, and by its opponents of a disgraced racism. Colors are also often symbolic, and again their meaning varies between cultures. Thus, in many cultures, black clothes signify mourning for the deceased, whereas in China, white is the color of mourning. Again, traditionally, a Chinese bride wore red clothes to her wedding, signifying good luck, whilst more recently her European sister wore white, nowadays seen as a symbol of purity. Colors can also indicate political allegiance, as with the orange of the Protestant House of Orange, the orange versus green of Northern Irish politics, the red flags of socialism and communism, and the Italian fascist black shirts. Thank you for listening. If you like these videos, you're welcome to subscribe to my channel. I'll try to answer any questions you may have about this video and a future one. If you want to support the development of the channel, you can do so through Patreon or PayPal. I'll give details below the video. You can also click like so that I can get an idea of which videos are of greatest interest to viewers. Next week, we go on to material culture. Have a good day.